One of my favorite practices in the video game industry is games breaking a regional barrier after being locked away for so long. Now, this isn't necessarily a new practice. Squaresoft did this a lot with the PlayStation era in particular. Heck, even today, Square Enix continues to do the same thing. Whether that be patching an existing game themselves, like with Trials of Mana, or completely providing the treatment of a full-blown remake, like with the game we're going to talk about today, Live Alive. I'm sure that I was in the same position as many of you. I heard the name Live Alive before, but I couldn't tell you what game it was. But that HD 2D remake made me curious enough to give the original game a try, and I'm so glad I did. Guys, let me tell you, this is one of the most creative and unique games out there, and it deserves the red carpet treatment it's been getting. Live Alive is an RPG developed by Squaresoft in 1994, originally released for the Super Famicom. And that's all I want to start with for right now. You may already have an idea for what you're in for when I say that, but be careful. This game truly defies expectations. If you're interested in this game and you're willing to put full trust in my opinion, stop watching this video now and play this game whenever you get the chance to. While I'm not going to cover any major spoilers for the overall story, this is one of those games where the less you know about it going in, the more enjoyable of a time you'll have. Now, just looking at some screenshots won't immediately highlight the game's idiosyncrasies. It has some interesting environmental design, but graphically looks on par with Final Fantasy IV and V, which were very early Super Famicom games, while Live Alive is within the second half of the console's lifespan. Although considering just how much variety there is in locations to explore and characters to talk to, few art assets are ever reused, so this was done with a purpose. But every time period you explore also has its own aesthetic feel in multiple ways. And this game has an absolutely incredible soundtrack. If I just say Yoko Shimomura, that's probably enough for some of you to perk your ears up. This is one of the most diverse scores she's ever composed, and dare I say, it's even one of her best. Since this was originally a Super Famicom game, not before released outside of Japan, I'm obviously playing a fan translation, specifically the 2.0 Eon Genesis patch. They actually went the extra mile by giving every time period you explore its own unique font. It's a completely unnecessary detail, but it's something you'll quickly notice and appreciate. The battle system definitely has far more going on. In an attempt to mix standard turn-based battles with tactics games, characters can move around on a grid and use a variety of attacks. Every attack has their own ranges, directions, and possible status effects. While movement range is technically unlimited, you can't move anyone too far, otherwise the enemies will get their attacks in. It takes a little bit to get used to, as there aren't any ATB bars to show when the battle entities will switch turns, but it won't be that much of a problem for most of the game. Regular encounters are usually not terrible to get through, although boss battles are probably going to test your patience. Most of them are borderline unfair, as they have some really tricky tactics that are difficult to plan for, and just deal a ton of damage in general. Due to the way the game is structured, you often don't even have the chance to continually fight mobs and grind. And even when you do, it can take forever to level up. You need to play smart and really learn what the movesets for your characters are. That being said, it is a ton of fun to engage with. But if you've been paying attention to the footage, you might have a bit of trouble figuring out where the game is set, or who the main character is. You've no doubt seen a variety of different locations and people. So what is the story for this game? Well, really the question you should be asking is, what are the stories of this game? Live Alive has 7 different characters for you to choose from at the start of the game, but this isn't like Trials of Mana or even Octopath Traveler, where all the events are happening congruently. Every character in Live Alive has their own unique storyline, and if you can believe it, each one can be finished in only a few hours. You're getting 7 bite-sized RPGs in one, but each one comes with its own twist. The first scenario I did was for Oboro, the Silent Ninja. Your job is to infiltrate and rescue a prisoner by any means necessary. Now you could run in sword at the ready, killing all 100 of the guards, or you could sneak past them without attacking a single one. There are no random encounters. You need to pay attention to the tricks and traps, as well as keep in mind what an ever-rotating password is to deflect suspicion. They crammed a full-on stealth game into an RPG framework, which is deserving of praise. How about the prehistoric Pogo, living in an age before humans developed spoken language? Imagine playing an RPG where you don't even encounter a single dialogue box throughout its story. Well, imagine no further. That is Pogo's scenario in Live Alive. So without text to drive the story forward, they instead use body language and slapstick humor to convey its tone. Talk about an incredible twist on the genre. But not every chapter has explorable worlds or building different party compositions. Masaru's chapter is a tournament arc where he battles to become the world's strongest man. Outside of the various battles, the only interactivity you have is through this Street Fighter style character selection. It's the shortest chapter of the game simply because there is no fluff. You're getting exactly what's on the tin. Non-stop battling action. Or even take Cube, the unassuming robotic companion from the distant future. Its scenario features next to no combat at all, outside of a computer game. This one is all about exploration and, if you didn't take my advice to stop watching already, I seriously hope you have by now, exploration and horror. Oh yeah, you're under threat of an alien monster and a crew that has gone crazy and turned violent on each other. If you don't think a SNES game has the capacity to be creepy, then guess again. I got more than a few chills with this one. And I was being serious. Every scenario has the same basic gameplay structure that any fan of classic RPGs can pick up and play, but they all feel so different. While the scope of every story is narrow and you don't have more than a handful of rooms to explore, there's plenty of secrets to discover, including a few bad endings that are just there for fun. Even totaling the time it takes to complete all the scenarios together, this is a relatively short game to complete, so you might as well see it through if you enjoy what's there. Besides, you'll want to do every scenario eventually. You've probably guessed, but there is more story beyond what you initially see. But what that is, I'll leave to you to find out. Even still, this game isn't going to be for everyone, but it has a dedicated cult following for a reason. It's 100% worth giving an honest shot. Even if you have never heard of Live Alive before today, chances are you've played something that was inspired by it. Fans of Undertale should not be sleeping on this game. So if you're down to experience what might possibly be the most unique game of its genre, then keep an eye out for Live Alive.